Welcome. This is The Fight Show here on Sports Tonight Live with me, Don McGuinness. We're going to be looking at all the action that happened, of course, last weekend. We're going to preview a fantastic weekend's boxing coming up as well, one we're really looking forward to. And we're going to be looking at all the news stories in the boxing world, and there have been many, of course, this week. We're going to be hearing from Matthew Hatton, head of the War of the Roses. We're also going to be talking to a very special birthday boy, a good friend of Spencer Oliver's, alongside me here as well. And we're going to be crossing stateside. A big St Patrick's weekend, of course, involving Matthew Macklin. And as I mentioned, Spencer alongside me. Spencer, I'm sure as ever you've had a busy week running up and down, doing some filming, finding out the stories for us.
Well, absolutely. You know, I've been here, there and everywhere, finding out what's been going on, looking at fights, and there's plenty to talk about, Dom.
There is indeed. Now, the news lines, if you like, the last couple of days, Derek Chisora, we knew it was going to happen, the hearing in Cardiff with the British Board of Boxing Control, the withdrawing of his licence.
Yeah.
He's a bit in limbo at the minute, it would seem. We don't know how long, or, I mean, you're a man in the know. What does that mean?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to speak to his trainer, Don Charles, yet. But, I mean, what does it mean? They've withdrawn his licence. He's now not currently holding a boxing licence. For how long? It said indefinitely, so, you know, how long is that? I think that maybe they want to see him show that he can change his ways, you know, maybe do a bit of charity work, maybe sort of like show that he can clean his act up. That's all I can think that the boxing board really want to do, and then he'll have to reapply for his licence if that's what he wants to do. Or does he want to go and try and get a licence elsewhere? We've seen it before. Danny Williams done it with a Latvian licence. You know, he done that when the boxing board refused him a licence. So will Derek go down that road? I mean, only Derek can really tell us that at this stage, but I think they were hoping for maybe, you know, a shorter term ban, like a 6-month ban or a 12-month ban, but indefinitely really does leave it unanswered.
And just in case anyone has been on Mars, it relates, of course, to events in Munich, the fight after the fight with David Haye, but all the antics prior to and everything else as well would have been taken into consideration, as I'm sure Derek's previous misdemeanours in and outside the ring, and that's not helped him either.
No.
But David Haye, of course, who they can't do anything with, he's not licensed to fight at the moment anyway, but Derek, I'm sure as you know him, he will still see his future in the ring.
Oh, definitely. I don't, you know, he's still going to see, he'll go and try and seek a licence elsewhere. If he goes down the road of trying to, you know, he can appeal after 14 days, he may go down that road, or he may go and seek a licence elsewhere, whether it be in the States, in Germany, where the events happened. I don't know if the German boxing board would allow him to box in Germany, like you say, there's Latvia. I think he has got other options, but ideally you'd want to box in your own country, wouldn't you? This is where he's made his name, this is where he'd like to continue fighting, and you know, I think he's just left in a little bit of limbo at the moment.
Now, we are going to be talking Burns, his fight against Moses Ormond Appleby, which was a great undercard fight as well, controversial that one as well, and a great debut, Callum Johnson against Tolan. Lots of other talking points, sorry, not debut, but a great first round, another first round for the Gallagher stable. But also George Groves, a troubling story today about threats made against him. Now, we know that the fight with Anderson is off now because of a back injury, and there's been lots of suggestions that he's pulling out for this reason or another, but then of course it takes it to a completely different level when, you know, he might have to deal with all sorts of
course
hideous
does.
threats.
I mean, if these allegations are true, then you know, it's not nice for him. He's got a family. I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, it's, you know, it's difficult times. You know, he's pulled out with suspected back injury, which he says has been causing him problems, but I mean, death threats, I mean, that's going a little bit too far, isn't it?
Of course, we are going to preview the War of the Roses as well, but I think we can get all the news stateside, and it's always a pleasure if he is actually up there on the Skype wall. Have we got the man himself? It's Kevin Iole, anyway, the chief boxing writer for Yahoo Sports, and it's always great to get his opinion on this, that and the other. We've had some big news stories over here, this side of the pond, Kevin, in terms of Chisora and the Groves-Anderson situation. I'm not sure if you're completely au fait with that. I'm sure you are, being the brain and the man that you are. But what's the news stateside? There's always so much going on. I mean, some great fights last weekend and things bubbling over, and I think you're going to have a certain Brit plugging a certain rematch very soon.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's great. There's a lot going on. Obviously, the middleweight title fight on Saturday at Madison Square Garden. Everybody's looking forward to that. I personally think there's a better chance of an upset than most people do with Macklin against Sergio Martinez. I think that's going to be a really interesting fight. But, you know, the big news here this week has been what's happened with Yuriorkis Gamboa. Top Rank sued Gamboa yesterday. He was supposed to fight Brandon Rios. That was going to be, you know, potentially the best fight of the year on paper going in on April 14th in Vegas. For some reason, Gamboa decided that he wasn't happy with $1 million, $1.1 million. Didn't sign the contract, although he sent messages, emails to Top Rank saying that he accepted. And so he pulled out of the fight yesterday. So that was the big news here, the fact that that fight was scuttled and they worked quickly to try to get another fight for Brandon Rios.
So Gamboa, he did verbally agree the $1.1 million before he pulled out of this fight.
He verbally agreed, and he also agreed. He sent an email to Top Rank saying, "I accept the fight." Or at least that's what Top Rank. I should say I didn't see an email, so let me just back up. That's what Top Rank is saying. That in fact they have an email from Bradley saying, "I agree to this. Let's fight. The fight is on." Gamboa is saying that he never had a contract and he never agreed to anything. The interesting part of this story, more so than the fact that they sued Gamboa, is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. finds himself in the middle of this. Gamboa was missing in action for a couple of days. They had a press tour to promote the fight, first in Miami, which was his hometown, his adopted hometown, and then the next day in Los Angeles, and he wasn't at either press event. Turns out he was here in Las Vegas over at Floyd Mayweather's gym getting advice from Floyd Mayweather. So Bob Arum, in a not-too-veiled threat, said, well, we've sued Gamboa right now, but anybody who may have induced him to take this action will also be sued. So I think we may have a heavyweight battle coming up here, Bob Arum against Floyd Mayweather pretty soon in the courts in Las Vegas.
Who would have thought situations like this arising around the world of boxing? Hey, Kevin. But in terms of Gamboa and Rios, I mean, we know what Rios did to John Murray, of course, just late last year. And they're two names that have been linked with Scotland's Ricky Burns, who defended his WBO title at the weekend. And again, is that someone that you think would be on their radar at some point?
Well, I think Rios isn't looking to travel, so Burns would have to come here. Rios has a lot of opponents in the States. I don't think he's going to be at the lightweight limit for much longer anyways. He, as you know, against Murray, which was actually a very fun fight. I mean, you know, not a lot of people here were giving Murray a lot of chance, but that turned out to be a very entertaining fight at Madison Square Garden in December. Rios didn't make the weight, so he lost the belt on the scales. But it turns out that they said that he had a lot of problems during training camp. He fired his nutritionist, didn't have a conditioning coach, so really didn't have a very good training camp for that fight. For the Gamboa fight, he was and has been using a nutritionist, has a strength and conditioning coach with him. They're saying 135 is no problem, but I don't see him doing that long term. He's a big man. He's a big lightweight. You know, maybe this fight, see potentially one more fight, and then I think, you know, you're going to see him move up to 140. So I would tend to doubt that Ricky would get there. If he was going to do it, he'd have to come over here and fight, because Rios isn't going to go fight in Europe. Do
you think that that's something, if Ricky was really willing to travel, do you think that they would be willing to entertain him over there?
I think they would think about it, but I think that they do have a number of guys, and you know, I don't think they're not real crazy about finding slick boxers for Rios. You know, Rios is the kind of guy that, you know, he's a come forward fighter, a pressure fighter, and they want to find somebody that's going to trade with him and stand and trade and be willing to, you know, kind of get in a shootout, and not somebody that, you know, that's a little bit, you know, it's got some moves and, you know, is a cute boxer. So, you know, I think look at the kind of guys that you can expect, you know, are going to be right in front of him, and those are going to be the guys that I think you'll see him look to fight.
Possibly would suit Kevin Mitchell a little bit more then, wouldn't
Absolutely,
it? In terms of,
yeah.
he can do a bit of both of that, can't he? He can get involved in a war if need be, and of course he did a number on Murray, going back to the Rios thing. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, we get a little carried away, I think, sometimes. I mean, just how a big deal would Ricky Burns, would Kevin Mitchell be, and how sellable would they be to an American audience?
Well, right now, not very. I mean, you know, even Rios, you know, Rios would be the star on the show in those cases in the U.S. But boxing, here's the problem with boxing in the U.S. right now. It's not the way it is in Europe, and it's sad. But you have to have been on television here a number of times and in high-profile fights for people to really be aware of you and accept you as a challenger. Carl Froch is just now from the American public getting that. Look what Carl Froch has done. He's fought in the U.S. for years. He's fought top-level guys. He's been in great fights, and he's just now getting that level of acceptance among the U.S. audience. You know, somebody like Mitchell or Burns, they've never seen them fight unless you're a really hard, crazy fight geeks like us. We see them, we seek them out on the internet, we watch the streams, and we see all those fighters, but there's not that many of them. So as a result, in order to become big in the U.S., you really have to fight here a number of times and fight against prominent U.S. fighters. And so they haven't done it. So it would be a bigger fight in Europe than it would be here. And that's why I think, for either guy, it would be difficult. But if it were to happen, it would be here.
And that seems crazy. You mentioned Carl Froch there. I mean, Carl Froch really has been the top super middleweight or the top one or two super middleweights for a number of for a long time now, and he's also boxed in America a number of times. And it seems mad that he's only just getting recognised. Yeah,
it really does. I mean, I followed Carl Froch for years and realized the kind of fighter he is and how good he is. And it was long before that. But, I'll give you an example. When I first joined Yahoo 5 years ago, I flew over and I was in Wales for the Kessler-Calzaghe fight. And people were just like, who's Kessler? Right? And it was just, they didn't, I covered that fight and they weren't really aware of Mikkel Kessler. So that it's kind of sad, but that's, the position that boxing's in. And the promoters have put them in that position. The TV networks have only reacted to what was going on. So unfortunately, that's the position that we're in the States. And, it requires a lot of push from a lot of people. HBO is going to play a big role in this because they are taking some steps that hopefully they'll follow through on. They're going to have a show similar to what you're doing right now that they're going to put on HBO at some point later this year. There's talk that it may debut next month where they're going to have features, and it's going to be a news magazine type show, interviews with experts, interviews with the fighters, profiles of the fighters, and hopefully that can expand the boxing horizon here. But in the States, as an example, HBO is the biggest outlet that televises championship level boxing matches. It has about 30 million subscribers. Well, if you go onto one of our over-the-air networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, or Fox, they're all 110, 120 million. So you realize that there's a much lesser audience for those places on HBO, and then Showtime's even lower than there would be if they were on free over-the-air TV. But right now we don't have that free over-the-air TV here for boxing.
Yeah. Well, when you want me and Spencer to fly over and show you how it's done and be a special guest in the new magazine programme, just give us a shout, Kevin. Not a problem. Not a problem. We'll do that.
Hope they get that done for you.
You look forward to the Amir Peterson presses as well prior to the May 19th. I'm sure you'll enjoy that, and all the talking will stop again. I know that will please you because you weren't very happy with Amir bleating a bit too much, you feel, after the last fight. But we look forward to the fight coming up and look forward to talking to you again, Kevin. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me.
Kevin Iole, who really is a fantastic man to get all the lowdown over there, and he's such a student of boxing over here as well. So yeah, you could have him up there for an hour. It's fantastic. But as Kevin alluded to there is a huge St Patrick's Night event in Madison Square Garden this weekend with Matthew Macklin, who challenges Sergio Martinez. We're going to be talking about that and much, much more here on The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. This is The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live with me, Don McGuinness, and Spencer Oliver, of course, and we are going to be looking ahead to the War of the Roses in just a little while, but just Burns and Moses, if we're going to rhyme with roses.
Yeah.
It's a nice little thing. He did do an excellent job, and I know that obviously Kevin over in the States is well aware of Ricky, and it was interesting that he was talking about him being a slick boxer.
Yeah.
Talk me through his performance.
Listen, he's going to prove very difficult to beat. Everything he does, we were speaking about it before, everything he does is technically brilliant, but technically good, but nothing really exceptional. Do you know what I mean? He's just very difficult to beat, keeps himself nice and tight, likes to throw the shots, likes to switch the shots underneath, and, he's going to be very difficult to beat at lightweight.
It was a great performance from him, and everybody knew that Moses was going to be tough, and he proved that.
Yeah, of course he did. He proved that. We thought it was going to be a lot closer than it actually was. You know, I thought that although it was a difficult fight, I thought that Burns was doing enough to win all the rounds, and he just proved himself at that level. You know, he sort of, when he won the world title, you wondered, was it just a little flash in the pan? Would he be able to keep hold of it? But as I said, I think as a lightweight, he's going to prove very difficult to beat. He's got some mouth-watering fights in prospect, you know, and Crolla. He's also got Kevin Mitchell. So good British title fights there. We've heard about the Rios fight. You know, that may be further down the line. But as we stand at the moment, he's going to be very difficult to beat.
He's also good for boxing. He's very smiley. He's got a nice face. You know, he presents himself very well. He works in JJB Sports still. He's not going to get carried away, is he?
Of course he's not. I mean, he was back there Monday morning. That goes and tells you what sort of character the man is. You know, he's world champion. He's had a couple of defences, and he's going back to work in JJBs. You know, he's very humble, very, you know, level-headed. Keeps his feet on the ground. You speak to him, and he's just like an everyday really nice guy. I'm really pleased for him that it's come good for him, because at the beginning of his career, you wondered, was he going to be the nearly man? You know, he sort of had a couple of cracks at titles. Alex Arthur, he boxed and got beat by Alex Arthur early on in his career, and you thought, will he ever make the grade? Will he ever make the level? And then, bang, here he is, world champion, and looks like he might hold on to that title for some time.
It's all about learning from defeat, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's what makes the good champion.
Well, it makes or breaks a fighter, you know. Some people can't deal with the defeats, and some people come on and they become stronger. I mean, I remember when Amir Khan got done by Bradus Prescott, I was there live on that fight, and I thought, career ender, completely over, shattered. But he pulled himself back, and that's what it does. That's what it does. It either takes you one way or the other. And for Ricky Burns, he learned from that, grew from it, and he's become an excellent champion.
You read my mind. You brought in Amir Khan at the most perfect point there, Spencer, because we were talking about Amir Khan before, very briefly with Kevin. Of course, he's been on the PR trail, if you like, promotional trail. The rematch is set May the 19th. Amir Khan against Lamont Peterson. He will not be taking him lightly, whatever happens next time around. Let's catch up and see what's been happening this week.
You know, he's the champion, and deep down, I think everyone knows. You know, everyone, whoever's, you know, everyone I've met in the UK and even America, they've said, Amir, you won that last fight. Now, let him enjoy them titles just for that little bit more time. You know, he's got another two and a half months where he can enjoy them titles, because they are going to be taken off him. I mean, them titles, the next morning when I woke up, you know, they were stolen off me. Them titles were stolen off me. I mean, I was against him, I was against the referee, the judges, the commission. Now, this fight's going to be fair. You know, I'm gonna be fighting in Vegas, May 19th, and we know what happened in DC, and hopefully that's not going to happen in Vegas. I've had two great fights in Vegas, two great wins, and hopefully we can make it a third one.
It's a great feeling. You know, last time, you know, I felt empty-handed. You know, he had all the hardware, and I really didn't have anything to do but to really put my fist up in all the pitches. But this time, you know, I'm holding the hardware, and it's a great feeling. It really doesn't bother me at this point. You know, I'm just going to focus on, you know, May 19th, and I'll be in the gym training hard to keep those titles and prove that, you know, I'm the better fighter. I think, you know, at this point, just based on, I would love to fight him here in the UK, but just based on what he thought happened in DC and the things that, you know, he was saying was going on, I didn't feel comfortable at this point fighting here. You know, I just wanted to show him that, you know, I'm the better fighter, so it needs to be on neutral grounds, and that's why we did it. But one day I would love to come here and fight. You know, maybe if it's a third fight, you know, we could fight here, or I'll fight anyone else here, but I do want to fight here before I retire.
Well, there we are, a little introduction to this fight, again, the rematch, and I can now tell you there's another champion on the Skype wall, because we've gone from one champion, Peterson, to another British champ at lightweight, Anthony Crolla. And Anthony, we've just been hearing from Amir Khan. The announcement, of course, we knew a while ago about May 19th, but he's your gym mate. I mean, you train in his gym, but he's been joining you. He's been part of the banter under the tutelage of Joe Gallagher for the last couple of weeks. How have you been getting on with the main man there?
I think Amir's really enjoyed his work here, and he seems very happy. And, you know, I've managed to get a few rounds in with Amir. He's done a lot of work. He's been out on the runs with us, and he seems very happy with the work he's done here. He's in a good place to go out now, finish his press tour, and then off to the Philippines.
Anthony, if you can hear me clearly, there's just a problem with your microphone at the minute. I'm not sure if it's something you can just have a little alter with.
Hold on 1 second.
That's much better, much better.
Can you hear me a little bit
Yeah,
better?
yeah, that's great.
Okay, sorry.
If you just
you were
jump off
saying
that
about
boat
Ricky-
now, we'll have the whole thing.
What's that?
If you just jump off that boat that's rocking in the sea, there we'll be laughing. But there
Yeah,
we
no,
are. Now,
you were saying about Amir.
yeah.
He seems to have really enjoyed his time here with Joe and the lads. We managed to get a bit of sparring in. I managed to get a bit of sparring in with Amir, and he was working a lot of technique work with Joe. Joe was obviously doing pad work with him, and he was out on the runs with us. He seemed to really enjoy it and the banter around the lads, and he seems in a good place to go out now. He's finished his press tour. I think he's in DC today, and then he's off to the Philippines to start his camp.
Now, Amir's obviously been subject of lots of talk ahead of that one, but getting to you now, we just mentioned before the Ricky Burns fight. I enjoyed your Box Nation debut at the weekend, Anthony. You handled all that very well indeed. You're
Thanks, Dan.
definitely a rose between two thorns there, between Rosenthal and Bunce. But it was a good evening, and you must. I know you were impressed on the night with Burns, and it's definitely one you fancy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Ricky's, one of the world champions in the division, and I see him as one of the best fighters in the division. You want to test yourself against the best, and like you say, I thought he was very impressive. At weekend, he beat a very good fighter in Paulus Moses. He dominated him throughout the fight, and he showed that he's up there with the Brandon Rioses, the Antonio DeMarcos of the world. But yeah, if the fight was ever to come back around, I'd jump at the chance.
And we've also got Kevin Mitchell floating about as well. I mean, where does he fit into all of this?
Well, I mean, there's talk of Kevin Mitchell in the summer, but I mean, I'm not so sure. Like I say, that's a fight also that a lot of the British fight fans want to see, and it's a fight I think Kevin and Ricky want. It's just, there's a group, there's a number of fights in the lightweight division that can be made, and great fights that all the fights what I see. So hopefully, the fans get to see them fights.
Well, that's what makes it exciting, doesn't it? When you get like three or four decent British fighters all in the same weight division, people obviously want to see them fights made.
Yeah, definitely. Like I bring it up all the time, but there was a time a few years ago, you remember, Spencer, in the light middleweight division, you had your Takalus, your Farnells, your Wayne Alexanders, your Steve Roberts, Richard Williams, and there was a lot of fights that could have been made that everyone wanted to see, and it didn't really happen, did there? So obviously it'd be a shame for that to happen again.
Yeah, I mean that's what you hope doesn't happen, isn't it? When it's left a year or two too long, or another fighter goes a different way. I mean, why the fire's burning right now? It would be good to see it get it on.
Yeah, definitely. Why we're at our best. Like we say, a few of them fights that I mentioned, then they seem to fight each other a bit after they was past the best. So now we all seem to be at the peak of our careers, and we're only improving as well if we're not at the peaks, and so why not make them now?
Interesting time in your gym, it always is anyway, as you pointed out before, but you've had a certain Mr. Barrera in, and you've put the head guards on, you've done a bit with him. Talk us through that experience.
Yeah, it was great experience moving around with Marco Antonio Barrera. Me, Scott Cardle and Scott Quigg managed to get a few rounds with him the other day, and I'd just like to say, to share the ring with a legend, like Barrera, he was honoured.
He's got some hairdo on him now as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's grew the mullet now. I think he's bringing that back. But, no, you can still see there was class about him, even though he's not been in the ring for a little while. You can still see, shades of, there's just glimpses of where you're watching him there and think, that was class.
And what's he got left, Dan? Is he still at that world level?
Well, to me, I was seeing shots there, and the way Mexicans, they bring their uppercut up off the jab. And you thought he was in good shape. To say he still done 6 rounds of sparring, to say he'd not been doing much training. So with a good training camp, I believe he could still compete at world level.
Against you, because I know your trainer's been banging the drum a bit. He thinks that's a good fight, you, Barrera.
Yeah, obviously, like I say, it'd be a privilege to fight Barrera, but obviously I've got my own fight to take care of first on the 21st of April against Derry Matthews, and my mind's set solely on that. But after that, I'd like to fight, the best in the division.
And I mean, that's a real mouth-watering fight you've got coming up against Derry Matthews as well, isn't it? I mean, how's the training going for that?
Yeah, our training's been going superb. Like you say, we've had Amir in the last few weeks, so that's added a bit of a buzz to the camp. But like I say, I've had a great week so far, and I'm off for some track work shortly, which I'm not really looking forward to, but it's got to be done.
I wondered where the smile was coming.
That's it. With Derry, he's going to be at he might see this as a bit of a last chance saloon for him, and I know I've got to be at my very best on the 21st.
Nothing like a bit of United-Liverpool rivalry as well, Ant.
No, of course not. The man, Liverpool, it always adds a bit of spice to it. But I think it's 2 great set of fans, so it should make for a great atmosphere that night.
Do you have Joe alongside you there, Ant?
Yep, Joe's just to the right of me now. Do you want me to pass him over?
Oh, well, we love to see him up here whenever we can, just for a quick minute, if he's there. Look at this.
Hello.
Fantastic camera work there, pal.
We're just watching a bit of Hagler Mugabe.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're looking forward to similar antics in Oldham. Ant in front of his own fans, of course, when he fights Terry Matthews. But just interesting times. And Joe, I know that you've got a few nice comments this week as well. I know you like that when people recognise what you're doing. But, you know, your 3 first-round knockouts in 3 of your recent fights, Callum Johnson being the latest one, must have pleased you.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, it's 4 in 5. We had...
Sorry about that.
No, Stephen Smith in Germany, obviously lean points, but the last 3, Stephen Smith went down to London and dismantled Ben Jones in spectacular fashion, left him kissing the canvas like the Pope. Next one, then. Well, I've seen some silly things in the press down there this week that people have said that he wants a rematch and he was shocked with the stoppage, and it's just like, he must be still concussed, the lad. The second one was, like you say, Callum Johnson on the Ricky Burns bill did a fantastic job against a durable kid, Tulin, who gave Jaffa a few problems and went the distance with Rocky Fielding, I think. And then Jose Burton had his pro debut on Sunday, and it was, I think it's on Sky tonight, Knockouts of the Year, so I'm a contender for it. It was, I'm really pleased with Jose. I've had him since aged 11, and for him to make his pro debut and in the fashion that he did, the statement that he did in it, it was just a really proud moment. So yeah, I'm really proud of the 3 kids.
Yeah, it seems that every time we speak to you, Joe, we're saying your camp's going from strength to strength, but that's just it, isn't it? Success breeds success.
No, exactly, and like you say, I know what's coming. Like I call it my conveyor belt. Jose Burton, he was part of my last amateur team that had Steve Foster in it when they won the ABAs. John Murray was in the schoolboy final, and Jose won the extra juniors that year. So it's conveyor belt. I've got 1 or 2 left to turn over in the next 12, 18 months, and it's I call it the next generation of fighters, and the young bloods coming through, and they keep the old, like Anthony Crolla now is becoming a bit of an old man. He's moving up, his stature's moving up, and the young guns are keeping him on his toes, him and Scott Quigg. So it's good at all levels to have lads fighting at the debut, the like the Liam Smith level, where he's just there getting to title level, and then you've got the kids who are at title level. So it's great banter, and for all of them to have been in and around Amir Khan the last few weeks was fantastic. Running with him, training with him, bar bag circuit with him, and the likes for Anthony to do some sparring with him and technique work just showed what it takes to move on to that world level.
And Jose the Hammer was a heck of a knockout. I know you've been making him watch Tommy the Hitman Hearns, haven't you? And also you've got Scott Cardle now to look forward to making his pro debut. And another thing to throw at you, because of course you'll be keeping an eye on St Patrick's weekend and Matthew Macklin, who has only very recently left you to go over there and see what he can do. So just briefly, Joe, your thoughts on those two, Scott and Matthew?
Scott Cardle is a very exceptional talent. When he got in the other day to have a move around with Barrera, he thought there was a world title on the line. He started bashing Barrera up. I was like, calm down, otherwise I'll put one on you. And Macklin, I texted and spoke to him today. He's in great shape, and I really do believe he can pull it off. It's a fight that I thought was an easier fight than the Stern fight. My only concern is hopefully Matthew sustained some eye damage in the past to his left eye, and being against a southpaw, hopefully that doesn't come apart in the night and ruin his chances, but he's got the power to give Martinez problems in the fight.
Well, I think we saw that when Barker boxed Martinez. Barker paved the way how to beat Martinez, didn't he? He showed that with the little feints and just drawing the leads of him. And if Macklin's done his homework, I think that he's got a great chance.
No, exactly. I've said all along, he needs to fight him in the way that he fought Wayne Elcock. He has to go into the pocket with his feet, draw a lead, and then come out. And as he comes out and triggered the lead, then to counter him and to be a bit smart. And I expect a different fight from the Stern fight. I expect this to be more of a game of chess. Yeah, well, that's where Martinez is. If you can trigger the lead and Martinez leads off, he makes fundamental mistakes, and that's where I think from what I saw with Barker. Barker done that, and Barker showed the way to beat him. Yeah, exactly. And listen, Barker smashed his nose early on, and I thought, wow, listen, I'm not experienced in Darren's power, but obviously I know Matthew Macklin's, and if Macklin gets a few clean shots on the whiskers of Martinez, I'm sure he'll have him in Queer Street.
Well, listen, Joe, best of luck again with everything that's coming up in the future, as busy as ever, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you soon. And thanks again to you and Ant. All the best.
Cheers, thanks a lot, Dom. Cheers, thanks, Spencer.
Good to speak to you guys.
Cheers.
Busy old stable.
It certainly is.
We'll hear more. And we're going to be talking War of the Roses, of course. We're going to hear from Matthew Hatton. after this break. This is The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. This is The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live with me, Don McGuinness, and Spencer Oliver. And Spencer, we're going to just move on a little bit now to preview a fight that a lot of people have been getting very excited about. It's a sellout, I believe, in Sheffield as well, or just about anyway. Kell Brook, Matthew Hatton. Add your bit to an already very talked about fight.
Well, listen, I've said right from day one, you know, it's really caught the public imagination. It's a fight that we're going to learn a lot more about Kell Brook than we are Matthew Hatton. We know Matthew Hatton. He's been a former European champion. He boxed for the world title up at light middleweight against Salvarez, a strong light middleweight, a big light middleweight. Come through that. I mean, he got beat on points, got beat quite convincingly, but put a credible performance. Kell Brook only really ever been past 7 rounds once. Don't know too much about him from what we've seen. He looks exceptional, but Matthew Hatton will certainly test him. I mean, I think the fight may be a bit closer than what people imagine. I think everybody's expecting Kell Brook to go out there and do a number on him. If you look at the styles, you know, Matthew Hatton really is tailor-made for Kell Brook. He comes forward in straight lines. Kell Brook likes to pick his shots, but I think Matthew's stronger than what people give him credit for. He's only ever been stopped once in 2002, and that was with a cut eye. I was there then at Wembley, and he's never really looked in serious trouble since then. So, you know, he's a tough, strong, worthy champion, really.
And much improved, and I think he is on the line now. Matthew, did you hear those glowing words from Spencer Oliver alongside me?
I did, yeah. Nice, kind words. Thanks for that, Spencer. How are you doing?
No problem. I'm really well, thanks, Matthew. You looking forward to the fight?
Oh, can't wait, Spencer. I mean, I've had a fantastic training camp. I know every fighter, you know, we've heard that so many times before, but I've had a great training camp. Everything's gone fantastic. Bob Shannon's got me in great shape. You know, the most important thing is always sparring. I've had fantastic sparring, good variety with quality fighters. The weight's great, so it's just a waiting game now. Just sat in the hotel waiting around, but can't wait, mate. Can't wait.
How do you feel about? I mean, Kell's been talking about he's going to get the job done inside the distance and predicting rounds and stuff. I mean, do you feel like he's just putting added pressure on himself?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there, Spencer. I was just going to say that. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Kell Brook. You know, there's a lot of hype surrounding him. Big things expected of him. He's the man fighting at home. You know, with the large audience for the first time, and coming out with comments like he's going to blow me away, like he's been doing today, and he's going to smash me and all this lot. That's putting extra pressure on himself. And you know, he looked edgy today. So if he's edgy today, what's he going to be like on Saturday? You know, talk's cheap, as we know, Spencer. So he's, you know, a lot of big words from him there today, and very soon it'll be time to back him up.
The way you're talking, Matthew, it just proves the fact you've been here 50 times already compared to Kell's 26, if you know what I mean. The experience that you have, and you've seen it all, you've heard it all. You're counting down the hours, really, aren't you?
Yeah, like you say, I've been very fortunate, really. I've boxed all over the world. I've boxed in some great arenas in front of some large crowds. So the big night, the big fight, the big occasion is nothing new to me, Dom. I enjoy everything about it, and like I say, I go into this fight with everything to gain and not much to lose, really. People writing me off, but I couldn't be more confident going into this fight. You know, I'm convinced I'm going to win it. I'm not hoping to win. I go in there expecting to win, and I'm winning good fashion. I think people are going to be surprised on Saturday. I really do.
Matthew, I mean, you said it yourself there. I mean, you're boxing there in Sheffield in Kell Brook's backyard, and that really doesn't bother you at all, does it? You've done that against Salvarez, and you always seem to produce and perform.
Yeah, like I say, I think with the Alvarez fight, you know, I think that brought me on as a fighter in so many different areas, really. You know, I travelled all that distance over to LA, you know, fought him in front of 14,000 Mexicans and gave away £11 to my opponent on the night. And, you know, even after that fight, even though I lost the fight, I think I gained in defeat there, and I come out with more respect. And I was disappointed to lose the fight, but within a couple of hours, I was even hungrier, but even more determined to get back there, and even more confident, really, to know that if the opportunity come around again to chance for the world title at welterweight, that experience would stand me instead. And you know, Kell Brook is a good fighter. He's a talented fighter. And, you know, I've trained hard. You know, I know it's going to be a big challenge. I'll have to produce the best performance of my career to win on Saturday night. But I'll do both of those. I will produce the best performance of my career, and I will beat Kell Brook.
Well, me and Don were talking there. We were talking earlier on, actually, just about, you know, a defeat for a fighter, whether it sort of like, you know, sort of ends their career or brings them on. And in that case against Alvarez, you proved that it's made you a much better fighter. And after 50 fights, you still seem to be improving, when most fighters would be at the end of their career by now.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I know I'm definitely improving with age. You know, had a lot of fights behind me. You know, like I say, this is my 50th contest. I'm 30 years of age, but I feel physically and mentally I'm coming to my peak now. This fight couldn't be happening at a better time for me, you know. I'm really enjoying my boxing these days, which in life, if you're enjoying something more, you get the best out of yourself. I'm enjoying training with my trainer, Bob Shannon, and even though, like you say, I've had 50 fights, I do genuinely believe that the best years are still to come. I'm getting better. I'm getting better in the gym every day, and it's showing in the ring, and hopefully it will show on Saturday.
And just a word about Bob there, because obviously you were with Billy Graham a long time. You had a short time with Lee Beard. You've moved to Bob, and he's just kind of opened you up a bit, hasn't he? He's made you so much more mobile. He's just worked on some basics in terms of your, you know, leg and hip and throwing punches from that. I know he's really passionate about all that kind of stuff, as well as incredible fitness. I mean, along with that, what has he added to your game?
Yeah, I think fitness and strength has always been something that I've never been lacking in, really. And you know, Bob is well known for getting his fighters in fantastic shape. Fitness was always one of my strengths. So since I've been with Bob, my fitness is absolutely through the roof now. And like I say, technically wise, you know, the one area where I was lacking early in my career, I had fast hands, but my feet were slow, you know what I mean? I wasn't the most mobile of fighters. But Bob, you know, we did hours of drill work, working on my footwork, changing direction. And I feel a very versatile fighter now. Like you say, my preference is to come forward. But I think I've shown the night I won the European title against Branco, you know, even though I was a stronger guy in there, I thought I'll show my boxing skills off tonight now. So he's added a lot of things to my game, and again, most importantly, I'm enjoying my training now with Bob, and that's getting the best out of me.
Now, Matthew, I was looking at some of the fight odds, and I mean the odds are absolutely ridiculous for you to win at like 7-1. I mean, that's got to be worth a punt of anybody's money, surely. Don't
encourage gambling now, Spencer. You're getting all sorts of trouble. Don't go there.
Are you trying to get me in trouble there, Spencer?
But do you know what? No, a fight of this sort of magnitude where people don't know exactly the extent of how good one fighter is. I mean, you just see, it seems to be crazy that the odds can be so wide against a fighter so proven as Matthew. That's the point I'm trying to make, that you would never think you would be such an underdog. That's where I'm going. Yeah,
I mean, like you say, Spencer, the odds on me, I'm a big outsider going into this fight, and yeah, it surprised me a little bit, but things like that certainly, you know, don't bother me. And a few people who've been down to the gym and watched me spar and watched me train, a lot of my friends have put in money, so I'll be getting after the fight if the bet's coming.
Well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. Does that sort of inspire you when you're a big underdog? Does that drive you on more?
Definitely, Spencer. It's I've always had you know, criticism throughout my career, and people obviously with being Ricky's brother, and you know, and people said, you know, being in Ricky's shadow. You know, I'm very proud of what I've achieved in my career. You know, I've been Europe for the world title, so you know, I'm certainly not in anybody's shadow. And as you know, I'm following Ricky's footsteps, and I'm out following Ricky's footsteps. You know, he's he's done throughout his career, and if I can go on to do a fraction of what he's done. But when you get these people, you know, writing you off, I'm a stubborn person by nature. You know, it's always nice to prove people wrong, and that's certainly the case going into this fight again.
Well, listen, you've done a couple of things Ricky hasn't done anyway. You've been on the pitch at Old Trafford twice now. Prior to the Alvarez fight, I saw you at the weekend as well. You were certainly a talisman for United against West Brom. I'm sure you enjoyed that experience, being interviewed in front of the Old Trafford crowd. But we'll let you go anyway, Matthew. I know you just want to fine-tune things ahead of the big night, but best of luck. It's going to be a cracking night, I'm sure.
Best of luck, Matthew.
Thanks, Dom. See you. Bye.
Bye, mate. Bye-bye.
Matthew Hatton in that fight, and it's there's so much interest, as you were pointing to, but the undercard's fantastic. We'll have a look at that in a minute as well. But Matthew Hatton, who, as you rightly say, the odds, phenomenal.
Stacked against him, it's unbelievable.
More of that right here on The Fight Show on Sports Tonight Live. Welcome back. This is The Fight Show with me, Don McGuinness, on Sports Night Live alongside me, Spencer Oliver. And I think we've wrapped up the War of the Roses now. We'll just look forward to that, and a great undercard as well with the likes of Carl Frampton involved, which I suppose is a perfect opportunity to bring in the main man from BoxingIsland.com, Leonard Gunning. And Leonard, there's plenty going on this St. Pat's weekend, isn't there? I suppose there's a War of the Roses, but we've got to start with Macklin Martinez, a fight I'm sure you're very interested in. And Matthew, where would you put his chances?
It's tough to say. Really, looking on paper, you'd have to say that he's really up against it, and he hasn't got a great deal of a chance, you know, because Martinez has really boxed in a much higher class and beaten guys who you would consider probably to be better than Macklin. So looking at it logically, you'd have to say that, you know, it's another relatively straightforward European victim for Martinez, who's already cut through Zinzaruk, who was unbeaten when he went to fight Martinez, and then Barker, who I don't think that Martinez really got out of third gear against before he then stepped it up and took Barker out. So looking on that basis, you would have to say that it would be a Martinez win. Now, the flip side to that is all the intangibles. Macklin coming off very disputed loss against Sturm in Germany, so he's feeling a little bit aggrieved by that, but also it's given him the confidence to know that he's able to mix it with the world title level, you know, that Sturm is. Sturm's a recognised world champion, probably recognised as number 2 in the division after Martinez, so he's got that. He's also, even though it's in New York, it's basically a home fight for Macklin. It's going to be packed with Irish guys. It's going to be St. Patrick's Day, so the emotion's going to be very high, and it might spur him on to give a career best performance. And to win this fight, it's going to need to be a career best performance, and even better than the performance he put in against Sturm.
Well, Leonard, I'll disagree with you on the how close or how wide the fight will be. I think that Barker paved the way to show how to beat Martinez. I think Barker proved that keeping his hands up high, feinting with his feet, forced Martinez to lead off. That's where Martinez made fundamental mistakes. If we look at the first half of the fight, Barker seemed to be quite comfortable in there, and Martinez got hurt in the third round. I think he got hit with a good shot straight through the middle on his nose, and that seemed to upset his rhythm. And I think that Barker showed the way to beat Martinez, and maybe showed that Martinez is not as great as what we thought he was. And I think that there leaves Macklin in with a great chance. If Macklin boxes slightly different to the way he did against Sturm, where he went all in, if Macklin uses his feet, feints a lot with his shots, this fight could be a lot closer than what people think.
Yeah, listen, the only problem with that is, and I agree with you, Barker did really well in the first half, but I personally, you may disagree with that, I don't think that Martinez really took Barker as serious as he probably should have taken him. However, he did put in a good performance. But saying that, Macklin is a very different style to Barker, completely different fighters, and I'm not sure if that style was ever going to get him to win that fight for Barker. And I don't think Macklin doesn't fight that way anyway. I agree with you in terms of not going all guns blazing, which he did against Sturm, which he's going to need a lot of those reserves to get him to the final round, because personally, I do think that Martinez is a significantly better fighter than Sturm. But it's a massive ask for him, but I still do think that he has a chance. He's definitely got a chance. And if he fights the right fight, yeah, I agree with you. If he fights the right fight, and he is going to have to alter his tactics significantly than the tactics he's used in his last 5 fights.
All right, so we'll have to.
They're going at to reinvent the wheel on a fighter that has a set pattern and a style of fighting.
Leonard, we'll have to leave it there. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Leonard, but we'll have to get you in the studio. We'll have a proper chat. We'll properly shoot the breeze, because I think again time is against us. But thank you very much indeed, Leonard Gunning from BoxingIsland.com. And again, I think elaborated there that it's a tall order, as we know. I don't see a problem for Carl Frampton this weekend, of course, if we're going to keep with the St Pat's theme.
No, absolutely. Carl Frampton, I think, you know, with Barry McGuinness' PA team behind him, I think that, you know, they're just looking to roll him on, keep him winning, keep him looking good, and that's what they'll do. I don't see there being a problem for Frampton at all. It's all about, you know, where Frampton's going to go to. There's an exciting fight down the road with him and Scott Quigg that's being talked about. I'm looking forward to that one more than I'm seeing Frampton boxing in this one. And
I think there will be more to come from Stephen Ormond. He was unlucky in defeat to Appleby. I know that his trainer Pascal Collins not happy at all, so we await to see what happens with that one. But again, you know, if we're talking about, if the Macklin thing is done now, I think enough about that. And the Kell Brook Hatton. Before we get your final predictions on that, we're going to have an Ask Spencer feature each week now. So basically, some of the Fight Show fans have sent in some questions, and they're more than willing, if they are willing to, please do and send some more in now. Every week, you ask Spencer 3 questions now. Quickly, should we stop referees being the sole judge in non-title fights?
Well, Dom, I'm a fan of that. You know, I think they do it out in the States. They have free referees. My brother boxes a pro out in the States. They have 3 judges, that score fights even over 4 rounds. I think the referee's got enough of a job to do to control the fight anyway, as well as scoring it as well. So I'd like to see the free judging scoring system in, even on 4-round fights,
Second quick question. Wearing T-shirts in the ring, should it be mandatory for fighters to wear robes? Interesting.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's taking it back to the 60s again, where everybody sort of wore robes. I think times have moved on. For me, if they want to wear a T-shirt, you know, a lot of times they're wearing T-shirts for certain people that have passed away, family members or whatever. So, I mean, that's what they like to do. I think a fighter should be free to wear what he wants into the ring.
And thirdly, if a clear robbery has happened, the board can overturn the outcome and suspend the judges indefinitely. Is that something you go with?
Well, I don't think they can overturn the decision because the decision's been made, but I think that definitely the judges, I've seen some terrible decisions in my time where the judges that scored against the guy that really won, you know, I think that the judges that scored that, I think they should be brought in front of the board to explain themselves and be asked how they've come up with the result. You know, I mean, I've seen fights before where a guy's clearly won 8 out of the 12 rounds and they've given it the other way. Now, how do you do that? I mean, you know, everybody in the arena thinks that the other guy's won and just that judge. So I think they need to be brought in front of the board and something has to happen,
Good stuff. So 3 questions, Ask Spencer each week. It's up to you to ask Spencer. But now, I'm delighted to say we've got a very, very special guest. He celebrates his birthday today. I won't tell you how old he is because I'm sure Spencer will ask him, and I'd rather you ask that question than me, Spencer.
Why not?
He is now recognised as a former world champion, super middleweight, involved in some of the best domestic fights we've ever seen on these shores, and a man who's achieved more outside the ring than even he did in the ring, such as his status now. A very, very sincere hello to Michael Watson.
Thank you very much.
Michael, how you doing, mate? You're only 37 today.
Pardon?
You're only 37 today.
Well, I'm getting younger every day, but that's what it is.
So how's your day been, Michael? All right?
It's been fantastic. I mean, all my fans all around my neighbours wish me happy birthday. It's just, I'm really not on the benefits each step away. It's been an extremely fabulous day for me.
Well, I mean, I was saying to Dom...
As well as every other day.
I was saying to Dom earlier on, Michael, that, I mean, we spoke on the phone earlier, and as we were speaking, I was on Twitter and having a look on Twitter, and it's amazing how many people sort of still recognise you and the beautiful things they were writing on Twitter. There was hundreds and thousands of them.
Because my fan, I'm the original world champion. Without a doubt. The sport lives on forever. That's who I am.
So
I'm the original world champion. My fans, they know who the real deal is.
So, Michael, what's the future hold? What are you going to get up to next? I mean, you've done the marathon. Have you got any other plans to do anything else?
My plans are to go over the world to inspire people in Kenya. I'm going to Kenya sometime in April to inspire the needy souls in life. They invited me to go there to inspire the children out in Kenya.
And certainly,
I'm moving around all over the globe to inspire more people.
Is there any more plans of any more marathons, Michael?
If that's the case, I wouldn't let you know. I'm built on surprising people. I'll just get my gloves up.
Well, I tell you, people, the sport certainly, the sport needs you at the moment. It needs you at the moment anyway, Michael. The sport needs you to go out there and spread the good word.
Well, I truly do intend to.
And Michael, you owe me that jerk chicken. Don't forget that.
You be at Putnam all night time. You be juggling my way down the corridor.
Well, listen,
you're on big time.
Michael, listen, you have a great...
Anytime, my brother, anytime you want.
I know, mate. You have a great birthday, Michael.
Thanks.
All the very best. Happy birthday, Michael.
Fully appreciated.
No problem, mate, and I'll speak to you very shortly.
You take care and have a good time.
All the best.
I'll be looking forward to seeing you.
All right, Mike.
Take care, have a good day.
Take care, mate.
Michael Watson. A legend. And it was interesting you were telling me before as well that he has now been officially recognised as a former world champion. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was a do at the Dorchester. I think they've been trying to do it for a long time now. It was like a benefit do for Michael Watson and the WBO were there, and they presented him with a belt, which was a very, very emotional, because I know Michael's always felt that he should have had that belt with the 2 fights with Chris Eubanks and stuff. So it was a very emotional time to see him get that belt, because it was a surprise and he didn't know nothing about it, and he went up and he got his belt, and he just felt that was his career cemented then, you know, that was his legacy cemented. And it was lovely, and I speak to Michael every day. We stay in touch every day. I done the last mile of the last marathon that he'd done, and yeah, he's just a lovely, inspiring man. Obviously, me and Michael went through the same injuries, so you know, he sort of pulled me through to make the recovery I did today, because when I look at Michael and the way that he come back, it was just an inspiration to everybody, to millions around the world.
And an inspiration story, I think, to end on here. And we look forward to a great weekend's boxing, and I look forward to seeing you again next week to shoot the breeze about everything that's happened over the past few days. This is The Fight Show, and please join us again right here on Sports Tonight Live.